You ready? Go.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. My name's Rafique. I was born in the middle of the last century in the East End of London, and how long have I been an Ahmadi? Well, I took the bet in 1968, which probably makes me one of the oldest or most senior of the UK people who have adopted Ahmadiyya. But the process of becoming an Ahmadi was rather a long drawn out process. It took quite some time. My background is that my father was very much distrusted. He very much distrusted organized religion. He didn't like people who put themselves forward as being experts, where religion is very much a matter of the relationship between people and God. So he was not he didn't conventionally practice any religion, although he certainly believed in God. My mother, she dedicated her life very early on in her teenage years to the Salvation Army, and she was an officer in the Salvation Army up until I think the middle of the last war, the middle of the Second World War, when she had to leave the Salvation Army because of ill health. But of course she kept her contacts with that organization. And I still have a great deal of respect for the Salvation Army, because they do a lot of very good work with the destitute, the poor, the homeless. And that's whenever that happens, whenever people do that, they should be praised and supported in the work that they do. She sent me to Sunday school as a child, so while I was still at primary school, I used to go every Sunday to the local Salvation Army. And one of the things that we learned there was reading the Old Testament and the Ten Commandments, and they had a very profound effect on me, because one of the principal thrusts of the Ten Commandments is iconoclasm, that the Lord thy God is a jealous God, and he does not suffer people to make graven images or any sort of image and worship them. And when I went to visit churches, particularly Catholic churches, where there are a lot more graven images than anywhere else, and saw people bowing down in front of an image of Jesus on the cross, I thought that this was disobedience. It was complete hypocrisy. So I thought, this is not acceptable. And I also believe that I found it very hard to believe that anyone could accept that a human being could become God. It's a bizarre and absurd belief. And I think my father's teaching that we have to test everything and not accept what other people say blindly and make our own decisions in life. In fact, he told me very, very strongly that it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you are true to yourself, as long as you believe that what you're doing is right. So I found it very hard to accept that other people would accept a human being as a God. It was like there was a sort of structure that had got an empty belief, that nobody really thought that. I remember once seeing on television a program about Islam, and about the kalma. And I think I was very young then, but I said yes, the first part of that is obvious, that there's only one God. And surely everyone can believe that. And I accept that. I'm not sure about the second part, that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, because I don't know. And I thought, I loved it. My parents had bought me a dictionary, and I loved that dictionary. I loved to search from one word to another to find out the meanings of words. And as a young man, 10, 11, 12, I don't know how old I was searching for my own identity, to find out, who am I? What am I? And I liked the word agnostic, because agnostic means without knowledge, not knowing. And I felt that was a far more honest way of looking at life, to be an agnostic, rather than believe in something just because somebody else had said so. And in fact, I felt by this time I was going to grammar school, a second stage of education, and we had a religious worship in the morning. And I felt very uncomfortable with that, because I was asked to say things that I didn't believe or didn't know that they were right. So I asked my mother, I said, can you please excuse me from religious assembly because I'm an agnostic? And thank goodness, she did. She wrote a note to my teachers and said, can you be excused? So this was if you like, the background of my approach to religion, including approach to identity as well, and what was my faith and what was my spirituality. So how did I actually become an Ahmadi? Now, this was when I left primary school. I had a little group of friends, and I used to run a magazine for them, and I wanted to keep in touch with my old friends. And I used to prepare this magazine on the Gestetner waxed paper, very old technology now. But I didn't have the machine to run off this magazine, and I was always asking people to help. Sometimes my mother would do it at work, but I couldn't keep on asking her. Sometimes the school secretary would run this magazine off for me. And then I had the idea that let's ask my friends from different religions and say, let me give you an opportunity in my magazine to write an article about your religion, promoting your religion, and in return for this, could you use your